dropping shit at the pilot. Niggas be broken, be sobbing, but still talking shit like they violent. Niggas is broke.
Okay, mumble rapper B-Souls is gone, the 4 AM recorded videos are gone, and I am back. And man, has a lot changed since that video. Now first, let me reiterate that I still think Danny Ainge deserved the criticism he got, and he still does. It's not about what happened, it's what he let not happen. And I still believe that letting go of one asset and a couple role players for either Paul George or Jimmy Butler should have been the move. Although that summer league game between Boston and Philly combined with the new signing of Gordon Hayward is really making Danny Ainge look really good right now. And shout out to Jason Tatum, by the way, for a great game, and Jaylen Brown as well, looking hella nice, to the point where I wouldn't have been mad if they started if we didn't get Hayward. Not saying they'd put us over the top or they're even as good as Hayward. I'm just saying I wouldn't be mad. But before we go on, let me talk to the haters first. When the Celtics signed Hayward, I had a lot of people in my mentions talking a lot of crap about how this signing doesn't matter and about us having fun losing in the conference finals. First of all, thanks, we'll have fun beating your team on the way there. And two, what the hell did you want us to do? Not sign Hayward? Because if we didn't sign him, y'all would have trash talked. And if we did sign him, which we did, y'all still trash talk. So I don't know what y'all want us to do, and especially Miami Heat fans. Ooh, Miami Heat fans was talking that talk. Even though they haven't beat the Celtics once in the last 2 years, but y'all got it, man. Ooh, they were talking that trash. And now that we got one of the marquee free agents of this summer that was available, here come people saying that Hayward ain't this, Hayward ain't that, etc, etc. This man scored 22 points on a defensive-oriented team with the slowest pace in the league on only 16 shots, shooting 47% from the field, 40% from 3, and 84% from the free throw line. I know those numbers aren't 50, 40, 90, but they're pretty damn close. And now he's going to be playing for the Celtics, who had the 8th ranked offensive rating and the 12th highest pace in the league, while being harder to double team now that he's there. No, I'm not saying that Gordon Hayward is Kawhi Leonard or KD or LeBron or even Jimmy Butler or even Paul George. But I'm just saying, if you give this guy 18 to 20 shots a game, statistically speaking, he would be a 25 plus points per game scorer. So I don't want to hear this garbage that he's useless and there wasn't a point in getting him when the only thing we gave up for him was money. And one of either Smart, Bradley, or Crowder that we have to let go to actually give him that contract. And speaking of the max, I honestly think he deserves it. This guy is 27, he's going to end up being 30 when he opts out, since everyone opts out. And he's improved every year and still has room for improvement. And has improved every year. But the question is, what's the plan now? Are the Celtics really trying to win it all now with this group? And if so, how? Oh, and before we go on, no one, even Celtics fans, are saying that Hayward signing is going to push us over the top and beat Cleveland and Golden State, or even Cleveland, except for IT, who, you know, it's IT, what the hell is he supposed to say? He's just trying to be optimistic. So stop with that blatant lie. But honestly, man, I think the Celtics should go the Spurs route here and win now while build for the future at the same time. And I think they can do it. They're in position because they do have the assets, and damn do I hate the word assets now, to go for another star. How many times have we heard that? From now until the trade deadline. And they have enough to have some leftover assets and even end up keeping both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who look very promising. Obviously, if we're going full rebuild, I would rather have had Markelle and Jaylen Brown. But if we're going the win now and build for the future, Markelle isn't going to be the last point guard available, while scoring wings have basically ran this league ever since the 1970s. And you get more assets you can trade for a star with the whole #1 for the #3 trade. So right now, that trade is looking good on Danny Ainge's part. But first, let's start off with the first move, which is trading one of either Smart, Bradley, or Crowder to free up actual space for Gordon Hayward's contract. And personally, bear with me here, man, I'd trade Jay Crowder and one of the heavily protected picks, or 2 second-round draft picks in Jay Crowder for Jahlil Okafor. Because regardless of what happens, the Celtics simply do not need Crowder, with Hayward, Brown, and Tatum there. And the 76ers have been looking for vets and shooters to surround Ben Simmons and Markelle, and Jay Crowder is one of those guys. But what the Celtics do need is a big. And the big man market right now is pretty dry. Only Andre Drummond is really the one who's been openly available. But Jaleel is as well. And I know Jaleel is not the best center in the world. He's not even as good as Andre Drummond. But he's better than having Ante Zizic as our starting center off the bat, who hasn't even played a game of NBA basketball. While Jaleel basically just got benched from the start because of the emergence of Noel and Embiid. And it's pretty obvious that they're trying to get rid of him. So why not get Ja for Jay Crowder? And just looking at Ja individually, his rookie year he averaged 18 points, 7 rebounds and a block. Then his second year he averaged 12 points, 5 rebounds and a block, but he did that in only 23 minutes coming off the bench, which still equated to 19.7 rebounds and 1.6 blocks per 36 minutes, which is definitely not bad. And if anything, man, just having Ja's contract relieves cap space for the Celtics, who will definitely have trouble re-signing Isaiah next season regardless of what happens. And being 21 years old, he technically is still an asset the Celtics could use to package in another deal. And that was the whole problem with the Celtics not being able to close out the Paul George deal. You know, besides apparently not making an offer according to Woj, the Pacers wanted a good combination of young players and picks, and the Celtics offered 27-year-old Jay Crowder and 26-year-old Avery Bradley. Jahlil Okafor would have been a player they wanted, because, you know, they did want Sabonis. But moving on, now what? Even with Ja, even with Hayward, even with Tatum, even with a developing Jaylen Brown, they're still not good enough to beat the Cavs or the Warriors this year or even the year after with this core. They definitely aren't. But what I will say is they're good enough to be top 2 seed in the East regardless of what happens until the trade deadline with the Okafor move. And I do believe that they're still going after trades as we speak. But I know the Celtics need to make a move now. And a move they really should be hoping for is to deal with either one of the bigs in New Orleans or a deal with Kristaps Porzingis. Because those are the players that will actually give Boston a shot at a title for not only this year, but for the next 3 to 4 years. And with Jaylen Brown and Tatum developing, maybe the next 7 to 8 years, if they can get the best of the crop, which is Anthony Davis. Now I know, B-Souls, it's not happening. It's not happening. AD's not available. I know that as of right now. And I even said it myself. What I said in my last video is because now that PG-13 and Butler are gone, and now that they have Hayward, and now they're in a win now mode, I guess, they have no choice but to bank or hope on AD or Boogie or Kristaps becoming available for them. But at least they've positioned themselves to be ready and be willing when the opportunity arises. But the chances are still small, but they're visible enough to hope. And more visible enough than people think. Because if you look at their salary cap situations, the New Orleans Pelicans, they already have the 12th highest payroll in the league, with the highest paid guys on their team being signed to 2 to 3 year deals, and those guys being Solomon Hill, Alexis Ajinka, Omer Asik, and Etuan Moore. And now you add Drew Holiday's 5-year mega deal, and they basically have no cap space to work with for the next 2 to 3 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked at their future draft picks and they don't have any for the next 2 years. And they don't really have any players that other teams would want or any contracts that other teams would want except for AD and Boogie. And looking at the Western Conference right now, even with Boogie and AD, let's say they work out, it's still a guess as to if they're going to make the playoffs with the recent additions in the West. And in the games that AD and Boogie played in, it's not like they won those games decisively, and it's not like their team got better from last year to this year. So I'm just saying, man, there's a bigger chance than people think, but still small nonetheless. And the Celtics do have the picks that the Pelicans would want and the young players they would want for a new rebuild. And as far as the Knicks, man, you know, they're the Knicks, man. there's no real explaining to do. But why specifically these bigs? Because just think about it. The teams that LeBron has had trouble with almost all have one common factor, and that is a rim protector. And that's why I'd also be open to trading for Rudy Gobert, actually. And I know Rudy Gobert doesn't really like Hayward, but still, man, it's a business. But look at the teams LeBron has had trouble with. Ben Wallace and the Pistons, Kevin Garnett and the Celtics, Roy Hibbert and the Pacers, Andrew Bogut and the Warriors, Tim Duncan and the Spurs, and even Bismack Biyombo was giving him trouble when the man just went ballistic in 2016. And I'm definitely reaching here, but even Durant this year averaged a block and a half in the finals. I know LeBron has beaten all of those teams, but he also has lost to some of them, like the 2008 and the 2010 Celtics, the 2014 Spurs, the Pacers pushed him to 7 games, and I'm pretty sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he's lost to the Pistons, and one of the reasons the Cavs came back from 3-1 was because of the Bogut injury, and the Warriors. Now let's look at the Warriors' weakness. Look at the teams that they've had the most trouble against. Memphis with Zebo and Gasol, the Spurs when LaMarcus was going off the first game of the season, the physical big men of the Thunder in 2016, and even Tristan Thompson in 2016 when they couldn't stop him on the boards. And even this year, low key, you know, I know Kevin Love had some, you know, he had some goose eggs, but he did have some great games. And Anthony Davis literally fits all the criteria of a prototypical player that would beat the Warriors and the Cavs, and he literally fits all of the Celtics needs, and I mean every single one of them, every single one. So to sum everything up, get a big and give up everything for one, because that's literally all they need right now to compete with the Cavs and the Warriors for the next year or 3. And if they get AD and Jaylen Brown and Tatum develop into the players that they look like they're gonna be competing for the next 5-8 years. And that's what I believe they should do, and I believe that's what they will do, or at least try to do, because I've already heard some Marc Gasol rumors floating around. The question is, will these guys be available? But with that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I am out.